The crimson Cipher of Baker Street. The fog lay thick over Baker Street, coiling like a living thing among gas lamps and carriage wheels. It was one of those London nights when silence felt unnatural, when even the city seemed to be holding its breath. Inside 221B, the fire crackled low. Sherlock Holmes sat motionless, his long fingers steeper beneath his chin, eyes half closed, but mind racing. Across from him, Dr. John Watson watched patiently, accustomed to his peculiar stillness. Suddenly, Holmes spoke. "Watson, do you smell it?" Watson sniffed. "Smoke, a coal, and perhaps rain?" Holmes shook his head. "No, ink, fresh ink, and not just any ink. Indian wax red mixed with arsenic. Highly unusual." Before Watson could reply, there came a sharp knock at the door. Mr. Hudson ushered in a man whose presence instantly shifted the air in the room. He was pale, trembling, clutching a sealed envelope as though it might burn him. "My name is Edward Blackwood," he said, "and I believe someone is trying to kill me." Holmes rose slowly. "Sit down, Mr. Blackwood. Begin at the beginning, but leave out nothing." Blackwood handed over the envelope. It was sealed with crimson wax, stamped with a symbol resembling a serpent, devouring its own tail. Holmes examined its close. Ouroboros, a symbol of eternity or of a cycle that cannot be escaped. Watson leaned it. You recognize it?" Holmes' lips curved faint. "More than I would like." Blackwood spoke rapidly. "I received this letter this morning. It contains no words, only numbers. But since then, I've been followed, watched. My servant disappeared this afternoon." Holmes carefully broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet covered in a sequence of numbers: 7, 3, 11, 19, 2, 17, 5, 13, 1, 23. Watson frowned. "A code?" Holmes' eyes gleamed. Undoubtedly. "But the question is, what key?" He stood abrupt, pacing the room. "Watson, fetch me the encyclopedia, volume 3. Watson complied, handing him the heavy book. Holmes flipped through pages rapidly. Not alphabetical, not numerical sequence. It stopped. The numbers correspond to prime position and letters indexed from a specific phrase. Watson blinked. "Which phrase?" Holmes looked at the crimson seal again. "Ouroboros, the cycle." He turned to Blackwood. "Tell me, have you had any dealings with secret societies, esoteric groups, perhaps something involving ancient symbolism?" Blackwood hesitated. "There was something years ago, a society called the Crimson Circle. I left when I realized they were dangerous." Holmes nodded. "Of course you did." Watson stiffed. "You know them?" Holmes' expression darkened. "They are not merely a society, Watson. They are a network. Criminal masterminds hidden behind layers of ritual and code. I dismantled part of their operation 5 years ago. It appears they have returned." He quickly wrote down letters as he decoded the sequence. Finally, he read aloud, "Midnight, Blackwell Docks." come along. The child ran through the room. THAKUR whispered, "They want me there." Holmes shook his head. "No, they expect you there, but they want me." The dark side trap. Midnight approached with a suffocating stillness. The Thames was a black ribbon. Under the moonlight, black-walled docks loomed ahead, silent, abandoned, waiting. Holmes and Watson moved like shadows. "You're certain this isn't a trap?" Watson whispered. Holmes smiled thinly. "My dear Watson, it is nothing but a trap. And we're walking into it? Of course. The difference is we know it." They reached the dock. A single lantern flickered at the far end. Then a voice. Sherlock Holmes. From the darkness emerged a tall figure, fair cloak, face hidden. "You took something from us," the figure said. "Something invaluable." Holmes' tone remained calm. "If you will refer to your illegal operations, then yes, I took quite a lot." The figure chuckled. "You misunderstand. We're not interested in revenge. We're interested in restoration." He stepped forward. The lantern light revealed a pale face, sharp eyes, and a smile devoid of warmth. "Allow me to reintroduce myself. Professor Adrian Rose." Watson stiffed. "Holmes? That name?" Holmes' gaze hardened. "Yes, I remember." Rose tilted his head. "You thought I was gone? Eliminated? But like the overboers, we return." Suddenly, footsteps echoed. Figured from the shadow. 5, 10, perhaps more. Watson gripped his revolver. Holmes remained still. "You decoded our message," Rose continued. "Good. Then you must understand what comes next." Holmes spoke quietly. "You're not here for the Blackwood. You're here for the Cipher." Was smiled. "Precisely." Watson frowned. "What Cipher?" Holmes didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small notebook. "The Crimson Cipher," he said, a system of encryption used by your society. "I reconstructed it years ago." Voss's eyes gleamed. "And now you will give it back." Holmes closed the notebook. "No." Sighed. Then chaos. Gunshots shattered at night. Watson fired, taking cover behind a crowd. Holmes moved with lightning precision, striking, dodging, disappearing into the fog. The dock erupted into a violent ballet of shadows and sound. But Ross remained still, watching, waiting, the mind game. Minutes later, silence returned. The attackers were gone. Watson breathed heavily. They retreated. Holmes stood near the edge of the rock, staring into the dark water. "No, Watson," he said quietly. They repositioned. Behind them, a click. Watson turned. Voss stood there, holding a pistol. "You see, Holmes," he said softly, "this was never about force." Holmes didn't turn. It was about psychology. Voss continued. "You know you'd come. You knew you'd attack. But what you failed to consider is that we understand you." Holmes finally turned, calm as ever. "Do you?" Voss smiled. "You value logic above all. Predictability, pattern." He gestured to the dock. "This entire evening was designed to guide you to one conclusion. Holmes' eyes narrowed. And what conclusion is that? Whoa, step closer. That you already had lost. He raised the pistol. But Holmes smoked. No, Professor, you have. A sudden whistle pierced into the air from every direction. Police! Dozens of police officers flooded the docks. Rose froze. Watson blinked. Holmes? You? Holmes allowed himself the faintest smile. I anticipated in his anticipation. Was expression darkened? You planned this. Holmes nodded. From the moment Mr. Blackwood arrived, he stepped closer. You see, Professor, your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. Ross' grip tightened. And what is that? Holmes' voice was quite precise. You believe yourself to be the smartest man in the room. A beat. And that makes you predictable. The police closed in. Rose laughed softly. Perhaps, but this is not the end. Holmes tightened his head. No, he agreed, it really is. The twist. Back at the Baker Street, dawn crept through the curtains. Watson sat, exhausted. Holmes stood by the window, thoughtful. Something troubles you, Watson said. Holmes nodded. Yes. He held up the crimson envelope. This was too easy. Watson frowned. We captured Rose. The network will collapse. Holmes shook his head. No, this was merely a fragment. He turned the envelope over. There's something else. Watson leaned in. Hidden beneath the seal, barely visible, another secret. Holmes whispered, another code. Watson's pulse quickened. What does it say? Holmes decoded it silently. Then he stopped. For the first time, Sherlock Holmes looked unsettled. Watson stepped forward. Holmes smoked slowly. It's not a message. It's a warning. Watson swallowed. About what? Holmes met his gaze. About me. Right. What does it say? Watson pressed. Holmes hesitated. But then it said, you're already inside the circle. The fire flickered. The fog returned. And somewhere far beyond Baker Street, the game had only just begun. So in the world of shadows and secrets, even the greatest mind can become the target. Was Ross truly defeated, or was Holmes just another move in a much larger game? Stay tuned, because the Crimson Circle never ends.